This is the Penn Summer Social Justice Research Academy at the University of Pennsylvania. For 3 weeks each July, students from all across the US and world come together to dive deep into the past, present, and future of social justice. In 2020, the program was online through Zoom and Canvas for the first time ever due to the global COVID-19 pandemic. Topics vary from year to year, but include a selection of significant historical struggles as well as those that define our recent past and present. Students have the opportunity to attend lectures by an amazing selection of guest speakers from Penn faculty and staff to experts and leaders across the US. Students are encouraged to ask questions, debate issues, and participate in lively class discussions as they absorb unique and professional perspectives. In addition to hearing from guest speakers, going on field trips, and participating in service learning volunteer work, students attend large and small group discussions hosted by a group of teaching staff who lead discussion and activities, including work on a capstone project due at the end of the program. Driven by their own interests and with the help of world-class university resources, students develop and answer a research question formed around program themes. This summer, in the wake of protests following the murder of George Floyd, the University of Pennsylvania's Campaign for Community awarded the SJRA program a grant to support capstone projects on racial justice that represent the spirit and goals of a university-wide commitment to promoting understanding, conversations, and engagement within our community. And if you're wondering who I am, my name is Alice. I attended SJRA in the summer of 2020, and I was asked to make this video for the Campaign for Community grant after the staff saw a video I made for my own capstone project about extracurricular robotics programs in Ghana, hosted by my local robotics team. So here are the 6 projects relating to racial justice that the staff have selected to be featured. First, we have a project from Nilofar, a 17-year-old student from Plainsboro, New Jersey.
Last summer, I developed an interactive COVID-19 map that tracks the number of active cases, confirmed cases, and death cases. During the coronavirus pandemic, low-income and vulnerable communities have been disproportionately affected due to inadequate access to healthcare in the United States. It is reflected in an increase in coronavirus-related death cases, especially for the marginalized races. Racial injustice is not only present in our daily life, but it is also present in the way that our healthcare system responds to marginalized communities during a pandemic. When race and COVID-related death numbers are compared side by side, they suggest that the virus does discriminate between the Black and white communities, favoring one and disproportionately affecting the other.
Next, we have a project from Raj, a 16-year-old student from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
My research compared the Eric Garner and George Floyd murders with a focus on why those in support of the Black Lives Matter movement have turned to riots in wake of Floyd's death. To many, Floyd's murder felt eerily similar to Garner's, and people began to peacefully protest these cases of police brutality towards unarmed people of color, but little change has resulted from their efforts. And as we continue to see the terrible effects of these same core issues, many have turned to rioting to put a spotlight on the problem.
Next, we have a project from Lauren, a 17-year-old student from Dallas, Texas.
I researched the Black Panther Party's ideology and tension in their actions over the course of their existence, and I found that their police patrol initiatives, free breakfast programs, and other community efforts were widely disregarded, and they were instead displayed as violent and threatening. I explored why the media portrayed the Black Panther Party this way, their intention in doing so, and what the ramifications of this were. I found that it was the seemingly radical socialist ideology of the party that posed the greatest threat to the capitalist framework in the United States, when they were really just fighting for political, social, and economic equality for African Americans.
Next, we have a project from Julian, a 16-year-old student from Chicago, Illinois.
What I find really distressing is that because of the plea deal system, there are thousands, if not millions of people, especially those of color, who are serving time for crimes they didn't commit. I broke the research down into each stage of the process and investigated to what extent people of color are discriminated against in each step. Stages include more frequent arrests, public defenders, all-white juries, harsher sentences, biased prosecutors, higher bail, and repeat offenses. At every stage, people of color are unjustly forced by the system into giving up their rights to a trial and confess to the accusation whether they committed the crime or not.
Next, we have a project from Andy, a 17-year-old student currently living in Shanghai, China.
I researched the history of American capitalism and the development of private prison systems separately first, and then looked for links and connections. In short, I found that American capitalism encourages jail administrations to seek economic profit, which incentivizes jail owners to seek out methods that maximize profit. Racial discrimination against certain inmate populations continue repeating historical motifs, that is, the dichotomy between the powerful and the powerless. This discrimination, along with increasing fiscal competition, resulted in our modern-day struggles for prison reform.
Finally, we have a project from Aaron, a 17-year-old student from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
I analyzed whether the school integration laws passed during the civil rights movement of 1960 in the United States desegregate schools. I researched neighborhood segregation, funding and closure, white flight, and governmental neglect. Through my research, I connect the above in a cycle of cause and effect, which all perpetuate and exacerbate each other. I conclude my research pointing out the fact that in reality, school integration laws passed do not desegregate. I also emphasize that the four not only perpetuate the cycle of segregation of schools, but are actually forcing us into a continuous process of racial resegregation.
Thanks to the University of Pennsylvania's Campaign for Community Fund, each of these projects also received part of the grant money in recognition of their contribution to racial justice and for the students to continue their research and spread awareness. In this time of social unrest, the Social Justice Research Academy provides students with the opportunities to educate themselves on the many issues that are being brought to our attention. It is more important than ever to understand the vast inequalities that many face, the privileges that we all have, and other struggles for justice around the US and world. For more information, please visit the SJRA homepage on the Penn Summer website.